Okay, so y'all might have heard that I only buy one figure of a character, but then I started delving into like multiverses, and I found the animated Batman for a really, really good deal. And then I started thinking, I kind of need Joker as well, right? Because one, it's the only other MAFEX that's available for the animated line, and it's the Joker. You need the Joker if you have Batman. So, unfortunately, this figure is based on the new Adventures of Batman and Robin, which had the sleeker Bruce Timm redesign. And from here, he looks pretty good, but I've always hated this redesign with his face where he doesn't have any like actual eyes. It's just like black and then a white glare, I guess. I think it's supposed to kind of make it unsettling like a shark. I think that's the idea, but it just doesn't really work that well. They did redesign it in Return of the Joker, and that's kind of the look I want to try to go for. So I'm going to slightly resculpt the head and then redo the eyes. But I think by default, this design is a little bit too thin to make it like a proper translation. So I did, in case this doesn't work out, order a DC Collectibles, the animated series Joker head, where he has yellow eyes and red lips and everything. Looking at him from the start, the first thing I notice is that he has this really thick underbite, and nothing up top here. There were no paint lines, so it just looked really weird. So I painted them in, and it looks a little bit better, but I think this overbite is still way, way, way too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to cut it away to make it a little bit more even. So let's take the head off and get really close. Like so. Be careful about... Actually, we don't really have to be that careful about the edge, because I might actually sculpt some new lips on top here, make the smile look a little bit smaller. There's going to be several stages to this, so actually in order to get everything like smooth, I think I might have to add like a thin layer of clay for the teeth, like the bottom row of the teeth, but it shouldn't be too difficult. I've sculpted teeth before, like very straight teeth, but even in Return of the Joker, he does have slightly an underbite, but it's so minuscule that I'm not really going to bother too much with it. Besides, the clay is also going to naturally jut out ever so slightly more, so I think it will work out in my favor. Okay, so I'm going with black, and the more ideal color would be white, of course, because, you know, teeth. But the thing is, I don't have any epoxy clay that is white or the kind of like yellowish beige that it normally is, so black will have to do. But it doesn't really matter, because this way I can also start doing the lips, hopefully with the excess clay. However, this I can already feel is going to be really annoying, so we just try to flatten it as much as possible, and it's not sticking to the... So sanding it smooth is going to be a different story. I don't really know how I'm going to go about it, but I'll think of that later. The thing is also that as long as I can get this kind of smooth-ish, just white and then some black lines, even though they aren't like perfectly sculpted, it's going to look fine. We just try to smooth it out, make it flat. I think this is all right for now. We're gonna wait like a little bit, and then when the clay has hardened a little bit further, we can go in and like fine-tune it a little bit. This clay kind of hardens in, what's it called? In like stages. Yeah, let's start with this. We're just gonna repair this part here, I still want a reference of where the teeth up top are. Okay, so the clay has like started to harden like a little bit. Try to follow a line here. So, and then we try to do some teeth. And okay, so the thing is, real teeth are not even with the, like real bottom teeth aren't even with the upper teeth. However, Joker in animated form's teeth are actually even, so we're gonna sculpt them in like that, and we'll see what that looks like. Oops. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this on camera. But the mouth is going to be slightly smaller. No, I don't like it. Well, I mean, I guess that's how it looks in the... Okay, we'll try this out, and then I guess we'll try to fix it if it looks really stupid. I mean, it's not like perfectly even anyway, just because I simply cannot make it perfectly even. So now we wait for this to dry, and then we can sand it like a little bit smoother, and then we're gonna sculpt some lips. Okay, so in order to see if the sculpt actually turned out good or not, I just have to quickly put some white paint onto the teeth. It's not gonna be like final or anything, because I think the teeth are gonna end up a little bit more on the yellow side. But I just want to make sure that the sculpt is kind of, you know, smooth and won't look completely stupid. Okay, it looks pretty good. Just like I know the bottom teeth look comically huge, but I thought the mouth was a little bit too big in the first place, so that's why when I sculpt the lips, they're gonna go up like a little bit further here, and overall the mouth is gonna be a little bit smaller. So let's get on with that. Okay, so I figure I can like clean up the teeth a little bit more when I've done the lips. So I got some black epoxy here, and I think it's a little bit too thick, so we're gonna just roll it a little bit more, thin it out a little bit, and then we're gonna place it. And then we are gonna start sculpting it. Okay, so I made them a little bit too thick, so we're gonna have to gradually make them less thick by removing stuff in increments. I think we can work with a slightly smaller sculpting tool, like now we stretch out the clay a little bit, and then we start thinning it again. And when this hardens, it's going to be a lot easier to clean up. I think we'll leave it here, and then we'll fine-tune it with sandpaper and stuff. Okay, so I'm having some trouble kind of seeing where this project is going. And part of that is because of these stupid eyes. Everything is so black and white that it's kind of missing some contrast. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually try to paint the eyes first. And then after that, I'm gonna wait for the clay to dry, and then we can move on. So Joker's eyes in his second redesign are actually completely red. And these eyes here aren't perfectly like aligned to be in the middle. So these aren't final at all. I'm just using this white here as a starting point. Put some white in the black, like here. But the thing is also, this black area is going to be a lot bigger. Yeah, I can already see that it doesn't have the right eye shape at all. Round it and up to here. I'm also gonna put it up here. And this isn't super clean or anything, but I'm mainly just blocking in where the eyes are gonna be placed, because when the white and the red of the eye come in, it's gonna look a lot better. So the issue is now I've done one side, and I think it looks pretty good, at least from my mental standpoint. And now we have to try to match it with the other hand. And because I'm freehanding everything, it's pretty difficult to get it right. It's pretty fortunate that regardless, I was never really going to use this head anyway, so I can afford to mess around a little bit. But like, look at this. It kind of looks like his introduction scene in Return of the Joker when his eyes are like completely black and they're just shining red. Well, this has a little bit of merit going into it. Okay, so we're gonna do like an evil triangle. Okay, it didn't really turn out that triangular at all, but let's just experiment until we get something where we kind of like. And this is good as well because now we see like where we need to like thicken up the black. I do quite like the look of this. Also, it's like a very minor thing, purely visual to help me see where I am. I'm gonna paint a black line here where the lip, the top of the lip. Just gonna bring it together with the sculpt. So hopefully this will be the final iteration of this sculpt, like the lips. And now all we have to do is just kind of bring it all together with some paint. And I'll probably have to go over this with more black as I'm doing the teeth. But, you know, it's all a process. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do the like red shine to it. Maybe I'll just do like the animated series doesn't have like a kind of like light reflection, I guess, of red. But it's a little bit, I don't know. I don't want to step too far into like the cell shaded territory because I don't really like that much. Furthermore, I've also experimented some more with the shape of the eyes, and I think I want them to be like a little bit more triangular. But for starters, we're gonna punch in the eyes themselves. And I think I already messed up, but actually this doesn't look terrible. Actually, I would say it looks pretty fantastic now when I actually have a look at it. So now comes the part where I have to match this, and it needs to be bigger. Kinda make them a little bit sharper. Shave off some of this black. Okay, so I have a few more things to do with the sculpting. I'm gonna use this white epoxy here just to slim down the side of the lips a little bit more. The reason why I didn't use it for the teeth is because I didn't actually know where the clay was. But it also kind of helps with like the indents for the sculpting. So we put it like here, like so, and we have to try to keep it as smooth as possible because I want to do as little sculpting as possible afterwards. As little sanding as possible to do afterwards. We're still gonna paint the entire thing, but you know. I really thought this super fine white clay would be a little bit whiter. I'm gonna try something. So, Joker has kind of like these two wrinkles up in his forehead, and it's kind of like, I kind of placed like this. Okay, so I think I'm finished with the sculpting. I've sanded everything kind of smooth, and now we're just gonna paint with a white mixed with a whole bunch of light gray and some very light blue, and hopefully all of it is gonna blend together. So when sculpting, it's usually a disaster when you try to paint the plastic and the sculpt at the same time. So yeah, it didn't turn out well at all. So I had to prime it with some white. But now the white primer is on, and the paint should be a lot smoother now. And I've mixed some blue and some gray and some white, and as you can see, well, you can't really see it because the lighting is too harsh, but it seems to be a really good color match. So I've diluted it quite a bit because this primer makes the paint just get on really, really well. And I realized that this footage is probably the most boring footage in the entire video because of the lighting. It just kind of looks like I'm painting white on top of white, but I assure you that is not the case. This part is really important in order for the head to match the neck and the rest of the body. Anyone ever notice that paint kind of tastes a bit sweet? I know that sounds extremely stupid, but like, I know it's not probably good for me, but I usually wet my brush with my mouth, and I usually get some paint in there, and this paint tastes surprisingly sweet. So I went and did the detail work off camera. I'm sorry, but I really wanted to try to get it right, and I am happy with how it turned out. So I'm gonna do the last piece, which is just painting in a green line around here, like so, and this is gonna go all the way to the tip of the hair, like so, and then it's gonna go here, and then to the tip of this here. And I think we're gonna go a little bit bigger and just make sure we have a consistent color all the way. And here we have the Joker completed. I did a few things off camera, as you can probably tell, but I hope it wasn't too much of a disappointment. Full on breakthrough. This is the original MAFEX head, slightly resculpted. The smile, like the entire mouth, is definitely smaller. And then I removed the gigantic underbite he had, which it works in 2D, but when you try to make it into a 3D thing, it just threw off the entire look. And it was really hard to make the teeth look like distinct. The eyes are by far the biggest improvement here, because as far as I know, no one likes those all black with one tiny little white dot in them eyes. So these eyes are very much inspired by Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, which is probably my favorite Batman movie of all time. It's just incredible, and Mark Hamill like transcends acting period in that movie. I'm not like fully happy with the lips. I think they turned out pretty good. Like, they're definitely good enough, but I think they also could have been better. But I also despise sculpting lips. Then I just added like a few details, like I added this little line here and these two black lines here. This is actually sculpted, but I added some black just to bring them out a little bit more and bring them in closer to the animation model. Like, things I could have gone the extra mile for would be stuff like the hair. The hair is very much the New Adventures of Batman and Robin. Very sharp, very simplified, like boomerang hair, but that would require a full resculpt if I went like the redesign after that. So I think this is good enough. It's kind of like an in-between Return of the Joker and the new Batman Adventures. So the eyes are also a nice red, as you can see here. We can bring them up next to Batman here. I think they look absolutely fantastic together. So I'm really happy to have these. These are some of the best incarnations of Batman and the Joker, like the entire Bruce Timm universe. This actually has me kind of want to get some of those DC Collectibles animated figures, but I hate the way they did the hips. They did them that kind of like DC Universe Classic style, where there's a really awkward hinge here for outwards movement. That's kind of why I prefer this MAFEX figure over that DC Collectibles figure. The only issue I have with this figure here is that his arm articulation kind of sucks. Like, I really want him to be able to put his arms behind his back, but it doesn't. Like, you can do it like that, I guess, but it just looks really weird. I would have much preferred a swivel up here in the bicep, even if it would break up the sculpt a little bit. But yeah, the Joker, really happy with him, and it was a fun little project. So thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed.
Mr. J's on the rebound, baby! My comeback party's gonna set the whole town on fire! Yeah.